Alright, this is the second part of the train body, and all I'm going to do is show you how to create all the holes. There's holes on virtually every side of this. So I'm going to start with the front, and if you look down here is the dimension for the holes in the front. The diameter symbol, so diameter of the hole is 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch. This down arrow with the T, like the cross line across the top, is telling you how far in the hole goes. So what we're getting at here is hole is diameter 1/8, a depth of 1/8, and the times 3 does not mean you multiply 0.125 times 3. Anytime you see the times and then a number at the end of a dimension, it's referring to more than one feature has the same dimension. So these 3 holes are represented by the times 3. So let's get to this front. What I'm going to do is I'll start with the middle one because we know the dimension left and right is centered. We have to trace that extension line out, and we find 0.625 is the height of our center hole. So we'll go up 0.625 from the middle. So we're going to get over there first, create a sketch in the front. I'm going to show you how to do all these hole features, all these holes using the hole feature instead of the extrude feature. The best way to use the hole feature instead of an extrusion is to just locate the center with a work point, and then from there I'll show you how to do the hole command. So again, we're centered left and right, and then we are up 0.625. We got all we're doing is going to put a work point in. So next up we need these bottom holes are only 1/8 of an inch, 0.125 up, and they are both 0.375 from the edge. You can do the math. If you look at this, 1.625 and 0.375. Doesn't matter how you do the math, but virtually they're both 0.375 from the outer edge. So we'll go to Autodesk, put our work point in. Now here I'm just going to click 2 work points and then go back and dimension their height and width. So 0.125 from the bottom, and again, work point outer edge or work point lower edge, and that gives you these dimensions. 0.375 up, or across. Work point edge 0.375. Work point bottom edge 0.125. So we have our work points located for the centers of all of our circles. Now, instead of going up to the extrude, what I'm saying is use the hole command. Right now, since we just created those 3 work points, it already selected all 3 of them. For any reason you don't want all 3, you can hold the shift key down and select the centers, and it deselects them. Or if they're not already selected, you just select the work point. So in the hole command you have a lot of features. All we want here is a simple hole. So the first icon is the icon we want up here. It's just a flush hole. Down here we want a smooth. We don't want any threading, which would be this icon over here. So all we need to specify right now is the diameter of 0.125, and termination. We don't want this thing to go all the way through our part. If you look right now, that red line extends all the way through the part. So we want to change termination to be a distance, and we want that distance to be, well, it now shows up as an option up here. We also want that to be 1/8 of an inch. Down here, the drill point, if you notice, drill points can be flat or they can be angled. And what you'll find is right here, this note says that all holes are drilled with point angles. So in Autodesk, we want to make sure and leave this icon selected. Hit OK, and you have your holes. Next up, we'll do the hole in the back. So create a 2D sketch, spin it around, and this hole here, we got to go back down to this view, is right in the middle 375 up, so 3/8 of an inch up, and then it is 1/4 diameter, 1/2 inch in depth. So 375, 1/4 inch by half. Now again, work point. This one, again, I'm going to hit tab. I know my X has to be 1 because we're left and right, we're in the middle. My Y has to be negative because it started negative, 0.375. And then go back again to the whole command. Also again, since it was already pre-selected, it's previewing it. This one here was, let me double check, 1/4 inch diameter. So here's our diameter mark, 0.25, and our depth was 0.5. Again, termination is the distance, which is how we get this 0.5 in here. Alright. Now last, I'm going to create the threaded holes for our axle pegs. Again, I'm just going to throw some work points in here. To find those dimensions, here's what I'm going to do for dimensioning. I know they're both 1/2 inch from the bottom, so I'll dimension the bottom up, and then I'll mark the first one 1 inch from the right side, and the second one 4.5. So if you're really looking close, though, you can see you can do 1 inch from the right side, and then come over here and dimension this 1 inch from the left side. So each of them is 0.5 from the bottom. Try that again. Work point, bottom edge, 1/2 inch. Oh, we were pretty close on that, and then alright, so again, we've got our work points. I'm going to finish my sketch, go to the whole command. Again, we were just using those sketches, so it previewed it and selected them. Now here's the difference with a threaded hole. These holes are a 1/4 by 20 UNC. It's a type of threading. Depth is 0.875, and again, the times 4 means there's 4 of them on here. You don't multiply 0.875 by 4. So to get those dimensions in Autodesk, down here in the bottom, you've got your types of holes. We've got a tapped hole. So tapped is threaded, for those of you who don't know that already. So in a tapped hole, and right away it actually happens to come up with 1/4 20 UNC as an option. There's all of these different types of threading, but the most common, the standard is 1/4 20 UNC. So with that, we also need to change, right here, we need to check this box that says full depth. The threading is full depth. The only thing we have to specify then is the depth, how far in our hole goes, and we find that to be 0.875. Hit OK. And now, as you can see, that is a threaded hole. Now, instead of having to go back to the other side of this train and basically do the exact same thing again, I'm going to show you the mirror command. To do a mirror command, you need a feature and a mirror plane. So I have to create a plane that goes right through the middle of our train. To do that, I'm going to select left side of our train. And spin around, select the right side of our train, and if you notice what happens, it gives us a plane right through the middle. So with that plane, over here in our patterns, we're going to do our mirror pattern. The feature is selected, so I'm going to select the see hole 3 here. Hopefully it lets me. Let's try this again. Mirror. There we go. You can select the feature itself right on the model, or we can select it over here in the model tree. So we've selected our feature. Now we need to know where to reflect it across. So we just select our mirror plane. And then our OK button is highlighted. And we spin around and you can see these other 2 holes were created. Now to keep that mirror from distracting you as you work, what you're going to do is right click on the work plane and check the visibility. So if you go right click and delete it, it's going to delete the feature that you used the work plane for. So instead of deleting it, you can at least remove it from the visibility. And I believe there that is all the holes. Alright, last thing we're going to do is the smokestack. So with the smokestack, you have to create a work plane because you cannot create a 2D sketch on a curved surface. It will not let you select it. So in the work planes, do offset from plane. If you select offset from plane, actually no, I'm sorry, not offset from plane. You want to go clear down here. Tangent to surface and parallel to a plane. If you specify those 2 things, if you look down here in the command prompt, it's saying select either the curved surface or the plane surface. I'll select the flat surface first. So all you have to do is click on that flat surface. The next thing you want to do is make sure your mouse is clear up here. If your mouse is too low, it's going to preview a work plane that does exactly what you asked. It's parallel to the surface and tangent to our circle. The problem is it's tangent on the wrong end. So you need to make sure your mouse is up here towards the top of the circle, and then click again. So once you have that, once you've clicked those 2 surfaces and you have a work plane, you can now sketch a 2D sketch on that surface. Alright, so now we're going to be able to create that stack. What we need to know about the stack, it is centered, obviously centered, and it is 7/8 of an inch, 0.875 from the front, with these dimensions for the hole itself. So again, I'm going to go with a circle. Here's my 0, 0. If I notice my mouse is going positive in the Y direction, so I'm going to select X is 0, Y is 0.875, and let's double check those dimensions. 1/2 inch by 1/4 inch depth. So 0.5. You know what? I'm going to actually escape out of my circle prompt and just put a work point. I apologize for that. I want to use the whole command again, so instead of specifying the circle to be at 0.875, I'm just going to specify a work point to be at 0.875. Finish sketch. Again, if you hit the H is also the whole command, so E is for extrude, the R on the keyboard is revolve, so therefore H makes sense to be the whole. There's our preview. Now, it's still going to thread it, but we don't want a threaded hole. We just want a flush, simple hole. Termination via distance. Our diameter was 0.5. Our depth was 0.25. And our drill point is still at an angle. Again, we don't want that work plane visible, so we're just going to click on visibility. And there you have it. So, 2 holes on each left and right side. We have our hole in the back for the hitch magnet. We have our hole on the top for the stack. And we have our 3 holes in the front for the cow catcher. Go ahead and save that, and your train body is done. Except, well, I guess I shouldn't say it's done. The one thing they have you do, I'll show you where to find this at. Way down here. Note, round all edges to a radius of 0.1. So you're going to apply a fillet of radius 0.1, except for the drilled holes. What that means is, I'm going to go here, fillet. I'm going to change that right away.